Recording in progress. I've missed that voice.
Oh my God, we've killed the host.
He vanished.
He's had enough already. He's like, I didn't go to SMC. I don't want to hear any of this.
Yes, I'm going home now. I am home, but I'm going to another room.
So
Paulsa, ugh.
Sorry, man. That is how you do that.
Sorry, I blacked out there. What happened?
That sounds so American to me.
Look, it's ours, right? We brought it there. I have every right as an American to climb on the thing that my grandparents' tax dollars paid for. So I'm going to exercise my right.
now that sounds American.
Yeah, that is violently American.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's what our commercials like, Jensen. Somebody doesn't listen to our episodes, you
Evidently, I was just like, what's he doing?
I saw what you added, Jensen. You can see when people are typing in this document. You know that, right? I saw you typing something
for
silly.
Me, I'm going to get you one day.
And today is not that day, my friend.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 105th installment of the Plastic Posse podcast. If you're listening in for the first time, we celebrate scale modeling and the global community around this great hobby. Tonight, we're going to recap the MMSI and SMC shows respectively later on in the episode, so stay tuned for that. Have all 6 of us here together, which is great. But first, we wanted to take a moment before we get started and dedicate this episode to a good friend, BJ DeBecker. We lost BJ this last week. We're going to miss his wit and generosity. His loss left a hole in the posse. So we're going to miss you, BJ. Before we get into talking about scale modeling, we want to give a tip of the Stetson to our Patreon supporters, especially the deputy marshals. Y'all help make the Plastic Posse happen, so a sincere thanks to each and every one of you. We also want to extend thanks to our partners, Tankcraft, Tamiya USA, Bases by Bill, and AK Interactive. All right, well, let's start off, go around the room here with a summary of what each of us have acquired. We haven't been together for a while over the last few weeks. Most of us have been to shows. I doubt any of us came home completely empty-handed, so let's kick it over to JB. JB, what have you acquired over the last few weeks?
Oh boy, online I haven't bought much, but as you just mentioned, some of us went to SMC, and I spent a lot there, which was awesome. But one of the vendors I want to highlight is VG Dio Models. They're out of Spain, and the gentleman who owns it is super nice, and kind of became our friend over the weekend. Just a really nice guy. We stopped by, talked to him a bunch. The best part was when we walked up, we're just like, we'll have that one, that one, that one. We'll take them all, Jensen and I. And he took a lot of our money. But really what stands out to me is just the quality of his work. And I love the industrial structures he has. He has a stone building that I posted some pictures on the Posse that's 3D printed. It is so crisp and so nice. And for our listeners, it was around like 60 euros. So round up to $70, but I know that sounds a lot for a building, but man, it's pretty big and it's just flawless. It's not one that you have to worry about poor plugs or any other, idiosyncrasies dealing with resin. It's pretty crisp, and the way it's designed and printed, it's honestly almost ready to go off the bat. So a little bit of sanding and some glue, and it's ready to be painted. And then I got a few other things from him. Yeah, so one of the other, 2 vendors I want to highlight, Arto Miniatures out of Korea. They have these beautiful 35th scale figures, and they just had a really professional display at SMC. I bought a few pieces off of them. mainly some King Tiger tankers that are from the Ardennes Offensive, and then also some Hetzer commander, and then a loader as well, or gunner. But they're gorgeous. They're kind of the equivalency of Alpine miniatures in terms of quality. And then lastly, I'll highlight Eternity miniatures, and TJ will probably talk more because he bought one from them. But I bought a
Alternity.
Alternity miniatures. Thank you. Really cool, like post-apocalyptic dystopian type of figures and bases. I went ham there as well at the end of the show. It's like at the end of the show, you're like, I have money burning a hole in my pocket, except I didn't have much cash. So I just wanted to spend, like, go around and just tap my credit card at vendors. And that was one of them. Really cool, super nice dude. And just a lot of cool, neat little stuff. But yeah, Scott, bottom line, a lot of money was spent at SMC, but a lot of stuff that you can't just simply find in the United States. Yeah, so that was my haul from SMC, and TJ, I'll kick it to you since you were there as well.
Okay, yeah. The main thing I got was a head cold. Apparently, I have not been feeling very well these last couple of days. Nothing too bad, just a little under the weather. But as far as cool things I got, I didn't really buy a whole lot at SMC. I bought a couple of busts. I got last year I got Alexei Leninov, who a bust of Alexei Leninov, and he was the first person to perform a spacewalk. This year, I got a bust of Yuri Gagarin. Sorry, the first person in space. It was the one I almost bought last year, but I ended up buying the Alexei Leninov bust, and it's from a company called Two Dreamers. I think they're out of Poland. Really cool. They have a whole line of early astronauts, American and Russian, which is pretty cool. But I like the Russian. I guess they were Soviet spacesuits. They kind of look cool. They were orange, which I really like. Not all of them, but the one I bought, he was wearing an orange suit. And like John said, I got a bus from Alternity Miniatures, now owned by a company called Scientific Models that makes figures and busts and stuff. I have a bunch of their stuff too. Yeah, kind of a post-apocalyptic survivor guy. It's kind of in the same line as the post-apocalyptic girl that I brought with me last year to SMC, made by the same company. So it's pretty cool. And I just got a bunch of HD models, 3D printed stuff, because I love my Shermans. That's the main thing. And then when I got home, what was waiting for me was Tacom's new 3-in-1 Tiger kit. It's their experimental one. It's got a bunch of paper panzers in it, but the box art was a Russian, what if 4BO Tiger with a D100 gun in it. So I'm like, I can't not buy that. So that was waiting for me too. So that's the main stuff that I got.
Awesome. Jensen, what about you? What'd you bring home?
Well, to match JB and TJ, I also acquired a really nice head cold from Jackson. So that's lovely. Something to really
It was
remember
all
the
that
trip by.
snuggling.
It was very close proximity for a good few days. Yeah, so to kind of echo what the guy said, I also bought some of the VG Dio model stuff, which is just really, really nice. Like JV said, we went to the stand and we're like, oh, that's nice. And I was just like, I'll have all of them because, you can't decide, get all of them. Because I made it a very specific objective that I'm not going to buy any kits at SMC. It was all going to be stuff that you just can't really find easily online or in shops. So yeah, bought 4 of the facade Dio bases. I bought Zaba Art miniature because I have to. Every time I see the stuff on display, I'm like, yeah, go on. I already have like 7 of their miniatures and I've never painted one of them yet. But every time I see them paint, I'm just like, yeah, go on, I'll grab another. So I bought Dunko. He's the other turtle guy to go with my first turtle guy I bought. Got some Panzerwerk resin tracks because they were there. No, it's not Panzer Art resin tracks, sorry. Because I'm going to be doing an M4A 176 because we saw a really nice one of them at the Bastogne Museum. And it's just, to me, it's my favourite model of the Sherman. So I got the HD model hull for that, and I got lots of upgrades that Jackson insisted I needed for it to be accurate. So I was just like, yeah, you just tell me what I need and I'll get them. Like 120 euros later, apparently I have enough to make a pretty accurate M4A 176. I bought some laser cut plants because I don't know. There's something about them that I really like that really spruce up a base, a dio, a vignette, or like whatever. Because I've noticed a lot of my scenes just tend to be ground and grass. It's missing a lot more like plant life. So I bought a few packs of the different like bracken fern, weeds, and things like that. Yeah. And there's one more thing I did buy. It's a Bobo Rhino t-shirt. And I bought that I didn't buy the miniatures that they make. I bought the shirt because I really like the mission statement of the company. It's bright orange and has a rhino on. And I was like, oh, I really like the packaging of these models. It looks very premium. And they were joking around saying like, yeah, it's like the Ferrari of packaging. And they were saying it's orange because that like, indicates like alertness and danger, and rhino because they're getting extinct. And they were trying to really get people to learn about the possible dangers of AI when it comes to art and sculpting and branding and stuff. So younger people don't tend to really know and acknowledge the danger about AI. But when it comes to this industry and people's careers relying on being actual artists and sculpting and things like that, is trying to just make people alert to the possible ramifications of everything being done by AI for free and cheap. It's putting a lot of people out of business, and basically people who've spent years mastering skill and art, it's causing issues for them. So I thought, you know what, that's actually a really kind of powerful message. So I bought the shirt because I really like it. And it's got a cute rhino on it. But yeah, that's my haul. Oh yeah, the best thing I got was the memories we made along the way.
Man, that sounds good. Definitely watching you guys. There was a little bit of FOMO involved here. But anyway, Grant, what about you?
I didn't go to SMC and I did not get a head cold, so that's good. I did go to MMSI with Scott and a couple other people. Before MMSI, Scott sent me the brand new to my Porsche 911 GR3 RS, which I started working on. I posted a couple pictures of. Typical Tamiya kit, just beautiful. Goes together in a snap, just cleaning it up. I'm actually using AK pens on a lot of the metal stuff, and because it's a lot easier and just separating and trying to paint stuff individually, but everything's going together real well with it. What did I get? I spent a lot of money at Sabat Miniatures, owned by James Rice, our good friend, and a lot of money with him. I got some great books. I got some fantastic figures, busts, full figures, 75 millimeter, 120 millimeter, all kinds of great stuff. Last Calvary was there, which was nice. They had a lot of books that I've been looking for that I haven't been able to find for a while. One of them is this one, German uniform book. It's got the blue one with the German helmet on it. Every time did a first run and it ran out pretty quickly, and I found he had a couple extras, so I got that from him. Other than that, couple kits. Spent a lot of time talking to Scott and Gary and John, all the guys, and having a great time at MMSI. That's about it.
Nice. Doug, you've been kind of vacationing around. I know you took a trip to Arches. You pick anything up?
Jealousy, just jealousy. Your guys' shows last week. Yeah, that's what I got. I got jealousy. As far as stuff for modeling, I have a shipment coming soon with some pin vise drill bits, and that's about it.
Well, that's a useful package, right? I got a bunch of stuff. Bases by Bill. Christian over there sent us some of the one-man army laser cut paint masks. I got some of those over to JB and everything. These things are amazing. You look at them really closely and the precision that the laser is able to cut with regards to tiny little stencils. Doug, I've got a set for you for a Spitfire and all the tiny little stencils that normally there's no way you could get those off of like a vinyl cutter. It's just that these are tremendous, really, really nice. Appreciate that from Christian. Also got the Tamiya F35C, which we've sent over to Justin Lentz. He's going to dive into that and do a review and then build it as well. So we're excited to see what that looks like. That's a really cool looking kit. It's a big box, great big wings on the Charlie model on that F35. Looks really cool. And then I picked up from Jim Rice also. I spent a bunch of time with him at MMSI. Man, what a cool guy. But I got this bust from Hera. And I don't know if it's like a gnome or an elf or is some kind of a fantasy figure, but it's really, really cool. He's got some weapons. It's called Magh, Magh, and it's a Hera bust. But anyway, I talked with Jim for quite a while, and he recommended this for kind of a newbie bust painter like myself. So I'm pretty excited to see what I can, do with that. So anyway, awesome. Well, as you already know, we've all been kind of traveling, whether to shows or just vacations in the case of Doug. But let's get a summary of what each of us have been working on. Let's start with JB. JB, have you had any time to work on anything?
Yeah, since returning from SMC, I've gotten some bench time. I've become super motivated to get better at figure painting. So I'm looking at the figure right now I'm doing, and I posted on the posse. And by the way, I'm very grateful for all the encouraging and supportive comments for it. It's a US, GI essentially winter wear from Alpine. It's painted in 3rd gen acrylics, and it's just been going really well. Again, you go to a show like that, you walk away inspired, motivated, and determined, and it's certainly bitten me, and I'm very hopeful to get this done this weekend and then move on. And really, my goal over the next year is just get better at figure painting. And I have a bunch of figures, and I've just pulled them out, and I'll be prepping them, and I just got to keep painting and understanding, brush strokes, and opacity, all those things that I have no clue about. So I'll just be working on that, and I'm super excited to get this little wedge done. And then I'll start the tempo build this weekend too. So some of us are building that little tricycle thing from Mini Art, and I'm just excited to get that started too.
Nice. Doug, talk to us about that little Hellraiser Grogu that you built and the Tamiya BF-109 that you finished.
Well, the Hellraiser Grogu, he's about 4 inches tall. I also hold him up here for those of you recording. He's not small. It was a silly figure that I saw a picture that somebody had done online, I don't know, 6 months ago. And I shared it to some friends of mine that I'd grown up with, and one of them said, "Hey man, if I buy it, will you paint it?" So he found this on Etsy and had it shipped to me. And so I've been painting him. It's a lot of fun. Basically, Grogu in the Hellraiser outfit with the cube, with the pins in his head and the grooves carved into it. And I had a blast painting this thing because there's almost no way to do it wrong. I mean, I could be kind of inventive, and I played around with it quite a bit. Just had a lot of fun with him. And then I've finally gotten back to working on that Messerschmitt 109 that I'd started a couple of 2-3 months ago. The group build, the 48 scale posse group build, got in the way, but I've got that one almost done. I should have it done this week, which will make 3 kits finished in October. I also, of course, for the group build, I haven't talked to y'all in 6 weeks, right? I missed the last 2 episodes, so I had the Nashorn I did for the group build, and that was fun. I did a winter whitewash camo on that one. I'd never tried winter whitewash before, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I think I did pretty well for me. It's something I certainly want to improve upon. It's something I'd do some more. When I was waiting for paint to dry on one of those, I actually looked over at my collection of models over on my finished models over on my bench, and I realized I have this AT-AT that the Bandai one that has been an eyesore for a while. It's so plain. Like if you were to blow it up 144 times, the weathering was probably spot on. But in 144 scale, it looked like just a sheet of gray. So I've been playing with washes on this thing to try to make that better. And so that's been something else I've been working on.
No, look forward to seeing that for sure. That figure is quite the mashup. Not something that you would kind of normally put together, but it turned out really great, man. Really great.
Oh, thank you.
Jensen, what have you been messing around with?
On the run up to SMC, I was trying to get the M3 build done. Didn't actually get finished, really. It was getting worked on in the hotel room the night before SMC. It got 95% there. If we're being honest, it wasn't finished when it was on the table. It just wasn't. You can just tell it was missing a lot. But it got to the point where I was like, I don't really care how it does in the competition. I want it presentable on the table. And it got there. So it's still in my carry case now in a few bits. I've not opened the case yet. Don't really want to. But I need to actually finish that off at some point and get some photos taken of it because Grant did message me about getting some pictures of it. I've still not taken it out of the case and I've still not taken photos of it. It looks all right. The guys have seen it in person. They're like, yeah, you shouldn't have bothered. Yeah, I need to finish that off. It needs polishing up. But apart from that, no, the only thing I've done is clean this room when I first came back. Well, actually, not when I did it today. I've been back for 3 days now. Get the bench ready for a brand new build, which will be another mini art kit. It will be the tempo because, like JB said, a few of us are doing that. It is of good knowledge that the tempo should be a relatively quick, simple build, not like a full interior M3 and a barn and all that. So I want something that's going to be relatively fast. So it's going to be a tempo on a small base, and that's it. It's going to be nice and simple.
Well, it sounds like a pretty good plan. We'll see how that goes. Like yourself, I did some cleaning and organizing when I got back. Bench was a bit of a mess from the Martyr and from the Panzer, but got that all kind of squared away. And then I shipped a bunch of boxes out of stuff I've been promising to ship to Ian and Aaron and Justin, and just have one left for TJ. I'm sending him my Slave 1, but I've got to find something to protect it, and I don't have a good container, so I got to go down to Hobby Lobby or somewhere and get that. Got my 3D printer cleaned and haven't run that for a couple of months, so got to get that back up and running and have some new STLs to print. Want to do a couple of TIE bombers and a couple other things been wanting to do. Also have a mini art tempo, probably do that again on a tiny little base that looks fun. And then I'm going to do some figure painting here locally with Barry Biediger. He and I got a couple of Alpine miniature U.S. World War II tankers, and we're going to paint those together. Just try it, see how it turns out. So hopefully I can do at least a competent job. Barry's a good teacher, so I'm looking forward to that. TJ, what about you? What have you been working on?
Not really a whole lot, I guess. I've been poking around on the Meng M4A376. I don't know if I've talked about that one before. It's a big surprise is the Sherman. I'm doing as a real vehicle that was in Clairvaux. We saw it from a distance. We didn't get to see it up close because it was knocked out in the battle in mid-December, the start of the Battle of the Bulge. So I've been working on that. The Meng kit's fantastic. I love it to death. It's really good. We got the full suite of normal aftermarket crap to put on it. That's kind of, I'm not like focused too hard on. Truth be told, I'm kind of as invigorated as I was going to SMC and talking models with everyone. I am kind of like in a cool down mode right now. Where I really do want to work. I'm very inspired to work, but I also just kind of like I just need to kind of relax a bit because I was very stressed about getting everything done for SMC and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, yeah, I'm working on that. I'm poking around on TACOM / DOSWorks Panther A late. That's pretty fun. I've never built a Panther before. I'm sure most people probably aren't surprised by that. That kit's fantastic. Holy cow. That's I think Sam Dwyer year before we were talking about it, and he was like, it's probably the best Panther kit available. And based on my limited experience, I'm going to have to go ahead and agree. It's pretty damn good. It's the non-interior one. So it's got some of the interior parts just that are on the sprues, but yeah, damn, it is really good. I got the Attack Zimmerit. That's like resin. So I've been slapping that crap on there. And I also have a mini art tempo. I've started building it. I've built one before. They're a good kit. I didn't finish the first one I built. It's ready for paint. That was a long time ago. But yeah, I've got it mostly built. I got to do the engine, and then and then it's ready for paint. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm kind of painting on a figure too. Just kind of, I needed something to do. It is kind of low stakes, so I got this 54 millimeter American Revolutionary War guy. I've been painting on him. It's okay. Painting blue and white is hard. It's just a pain. But yeah, that's what I got going on.
Grant, what about you? Anything besides the Tamiya Porsche?
I'm just working on a bust that I got a couple days, or I printed a couple days ago from my mini factory. Other than that, I started working the suspension on the Tamiya Yog Tiger that I got in Reno. Other than that, I haven't been too busy. I still have all my stuff in my box. I haven't taken anything out of my box from MMSI yet. So I haven't been there. I've been, just busy with the other things, but it's been fun. The Porsche has been a great kit to work on because it's so easy. It's just, I'm not used to painting in small, like plain, like when you do with planes, you paint and put together, you paint, put together. I'm not used to that. So I'm kind of learning that skill. So that's been fun. But other than that, that's about it. To tell you the truth, I'm just kind of like a lot of us trying to catch up a little bit.
Awesome. Well, let's head over to TJ and talk about some models that caught our eye in the Plastic Posse group.
All right, thanks, Scott. I'll go ahead and start. I really like Brandon Jacobs' M32 recovery vehicle. Use the Italeri kit. It's not the best kit in the world, but for a long time, it was the only way you could get an M32. And he posted, I think, yesterday. It's really cool. I love armored recovery vehicles. They're kind of like a neat little niche that I really like, and I like seeing them because you don't see them that often. But yeah, it looks really good. I liked it.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job on that one. I agree. Jensen, what caught your eye?
I had to choose Kev Smith's 1/16th 251. I do believe this might have been posted a while back, but Kev has actually posted it himself, so I'm choosing it again. It's just really good. Like something I was talking to Jeff about at the show was 1/16th models and making them look like, because they're so big, not making them look like toys or RC cars. This is just beautiful. This is so well weathered, so well painted. It is a stunning model. And I didn't realize it was 1/16th when I saw the images. Yeah, it's just good.
You stole, that was Grant was going to use that one, and you stole it from him.
When was this? I put this on the list like this morning.
Okay. That's okay. I got another one.
I just want to echo Jensen real quick. For those that attended SMC, you were definitely there for a treat because Kev had it displayed. And even what I like, Jensen, you didn't mention was the base, because the wood had like the rippled grain in it, which the suspension of the vehicle conformed to, and it was gorgeous.
Yes.
And in the pictures, there's a bucket of potatoes in the bed area too. That is just in person. Those look like potatoes. Overall, I'm just talking about it more because I thought it was that good of a model.
Yeah.
It was absolutely stunning. Kev is a super cool dude, super nice dude, willing to tell you anything about his, techniques and the way he models. So, and he's just become a really great friend of ours. And I'm just echoing this from Jensen and Grant as well. It's a good piece, and from an even better person.
Yeah, I the one of the reasons I liked it too was the subtleness of the camouflage on the vehicle is just perfect. It's just really, really just very there, lightly there. And I didn't, it just stood out to me. It's a really good kit.
I have to ask you guys that got to see it in person, but this won a silver. Not to denigrate what a silver in Masters category is, because I think that's an esteemed honor. But boy, what a tribute to the quality and level of work over there that this model was a silver and not a gold, because it's a really stunning piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had posted photos of it before, but not with the base. I think those are the first photos I've seen of it with the base. And yeah, JB, I noticed that too when I was kind of walking around, because it was on the other side of the end of the table where all the master stuff was, from where you and me and Jackson and I think Jensen was. He was on the reverse side. I was walking around looking at everything, and I'm like, whoa, that is pretty cool. He's got like the wood's like undulating and the vehicle's like sitting on him. Like, that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
To kind of like show you that, yeah, it works like a real vehicle. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's not enough nice things to say about Kev and his work. Just an all around solid bloke. He's had a good time with him.
Jeff would have really appreciated that wood.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff's in their friend group, so it's fine. They're all blokes.
He is a full corner. Yeah.
And it won a silver, so that's pretty sweet.
Yep.
I think that was his first SMC too, so I'm sure he was
Wow.
very excited.
Wow.
Well, Grant, since we skipped you and Jensen took your choice, what else caught your eye on the group?
I'm going to say Chuck Blair, just because I just saw it. He did a UD-4, the Cheyenne drop ship from Aliens. He's been working on it for a while. It looks really nice. It looks like it's either 3D printed. It's both 3D printed and scratch, I think, and it's just the beautiful, beautiful build. It's such a unique air or drop ship from a unique movie or great movie that, and he's got the transport below it, so he's going to have the ship landing and the transport going off from underneath of it, and it's just amazing, and you could just see the pilot in there with the saying on her helmet, "Fly me friendly," and it's just a beautiful build, just a great build for him. So that's mine.
Yeah, that's a good choice. That's a cool subject for sure.
Yeah.
John, what about you? What was your choice?
Yeah, I'm going to actually pull an audible a little bit and go with something I saw at SMC that has been posted in the group. And really, it was two pieces, and one of them we had the honor of signing the base of. And that's from our Dutchy friends, Martin and Marco. Those two, they were with us all weekend. Super nice folks. Same with Chris and the other Martin as well, Martin Bludders. But really, they had a beautiful display at SMC. And two of the pieces there were from the group build. And it was Martin's Kettenkrad and then Marco's Jeep that was up armored. And I just seeing them online is one thing, but again, as we've talked about, seeing these pieces in person, it's almost like you walk up to them, you know them, but you don't, and then you start looking at them, and you start to see little things that you haven't picked up in photographs. Kev Smith's 251 is a great example of that, and then also Marco and Martin's work as well. I thought it was cool while we were there. Marco picked up his Jeep and pulled it off the base and had TJ and I sign, and Jensen as well. I think it was like a big slate rock, but it was really cool because it was a part of the piece. He had a custom wood piece put on top of it with the posse coin and the Jeep itself. But then we took a white pencil and signed the slate, which was I just thought that was really neat. As we think about making memories at shows. And we take tons of pictures of models, but we rarely take pictures of ourselves there or, have mementos that we've all touched in some way, shape, or form. And I think a great example of this is when Sam Dwyer had us all sign the book. I think it was even just a catalog or something in Omaha. But little touches like that, I think, make a difference. And I was really touched by that at the SMC show. And TJ and Jensen participated as well. But yeah, overall, it's a long story. It's a long journey. You see them post, "Oh, I'm building this." You see the progress, you see the finished piece, and then you have the opportunity to see it in person. And it's just kind of full circle around what this all means. And those two, like I said, those two guys, the other Dutchies, and everybody else at the show that supported the posse, just really cool. Long answer. Those two pieces I love seeing in person that have been posted on the group.
That was a great choice. That was pretty funny, that picture that Marco put of that piece on the group. All right, Doug, what caught your eye?
I would like to talk about Craig Flynn's White Knight, the Maschinen Krieger White Knight that he just finished. He said it had been on the bench for a year and a half, and he's just gotten back around to it. I really dig it. I mean, it's a lot of fun the way he's chosen to display it. I like his base. It's a real simple wooden block. It looks like worn concrete on top. He's got the pilot on there and a couple of toolboxes open the tools are detailed in there as well. The way he's chosen to display the figure, he's got the figure sitting on the edge of this wooden block, his feet dangling over the side, which kind of stretches it and kind of makes it look bigger than it really is. It's just a little square on top that's just barely bigger than the kit itself. So I really like what he's done on this. Just simple but fun. Very well done.
Yeah, Craig's work's awesome. I mean, he's a good guy. Really cool to see him in Texas last year, and yeah, I love his Maschinen Krieger work. So you picked a good one there, Doug. That was a good call.
Awesome, and I'm gonna finish up with the Sam Dwyer. He did for their upcoming scale ACT show an A6 M2 Type 32 Zero. My favorite variant of the Zero. I like the clipped wings on that mid-production version. But the way he chipped the paint down to the metal it's one of the best Zeros I've ever seen. And, Sam does incredible work. But I really, really like it. It really pleases the eye. And, as always, Sam, just great job. Really super job. All right, let's kick it over to JB to kind of give us a brief update on the group build and what's to come.
Displaying a model on a base is a great way to showcase a build and have it stand out, whether on the show table or just on your shelves at home. If you find yourself in need of a display base worthy of your models, Bases by Bill has the solution for you. Their quality bases are a perfect way to display and enhance any special model you have. From US and Japanese carrier decks to custom-sized cherry hardwood bases, Bases by Bill display bases are available for any type of model and for any size. Bases by Bill is now a US reseller for one-man army high-definition laser cut painting masks, which bring incredible detail to your model without the tedium of using scores of decals. And right now, all one-man army orders include free shipping. Check out their website at basesbybill.com to see all of their fine modeling related products. Bases by Bill for all your model display needs.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, again, really floored with the participation in the group build. We had over 300 entrants in total, over 180 completions. And I don't have a firm number because a few are trickling in still just because I've missed those messages. I do think I broke Facebook Messenger when I was going through all this, but I have cataloged 180 of them at least with names, addresses, and their entries. So it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun work. I have over 800 photographs as well for the group build that over this weekend I'll look to upload. I tried to upload it through my computer and it crashed several times. So I will do the old switcheroo and do it through my mobile device and do 10 or 11 uploads of 80 pictures a piece, similar to what we do at shows. But bottom line is a lot of participation, a lot of data, a lot of great work. Absolutely floored by the participation. As I said again, this community is something special, and I think this group build illustrates it. What's really cool is seeing those pieces in person, whether it's MMSI or SMC. It's just really great. And we've been starting to deliver coins. I gave some out at SMC to folks. I know Scott took some to MMSI. I gave a large package to Jensen, which he threw his boots away at SMC to fit it. So listeners, you want to talk about dedication, Jensen did that. Now, mind you, he also had a ton of purchases as well. So it was part of that compromise. He chose clothes and boots he put aside for models and coins for all the listeners. But bottom line is, we're working to get those out over the next week or two. Scott mentioned, we've been really busy. Some of us have a cold, and it's just been really tough kind of getting in the groove to sending these out. But bottom line is, we'll get them out the door within the next few weeks. With that, we're also going to be doing a special segment with our guests. So we'll have Rick Lawler, Uncle Nightshift, Adam Wilder, and Spud on to talk about the armor and military pieces, the ground vehicles. And then on the aircraft side, we'll have Chris Sieber, aka Lufram, and the Sam Dwyer as well. So really excited to have those discussions. We'll be using a lot of those photographs you gave us, and yeah, just going through it all. So it's awesome. And as I mentioned, those who have completed it, you'll get a coin and a poker chip. So it'll be sweet. And special thanks again to Peter Fidlowski for being our dedicated artist to all of our group builds. He's the Rodna. If you don't know who that is, that he does all the Panzer Rex graphics. Peter is our Rodna. And that's who we know and love. And again, jokes aside, Pete's a great guy, and he's supported everything we do. So really great. And we'll get some t-shirts made with it as well. So bottom line, be patient. We're working our way through it. If I haven't responded to you yet, I will. Believe me. There's a few that came in during the SMC time just that I missed, and they reminded me. So I really appreciate that. I just got to get to them, and I'll look to get to them over this weekend. So thank you all again. We'll come back next episode and kind of give a complete round out. And then ideally have our special guest shout outs within the coming month as well. So thank you all again, and over to Grant.
Our good friends Bill Moore and Frank Damon asked to mention the 2024 Middle Tennessee ModelCon at Murfreesboro, Tennessee at the Rutherford County Agricultural Center. Show date is Saturday, November 9th. Doors open at 9 a.m. and judging starts at noon. You can find all the details for the show over at www.ipmsmiddletennessee.com. Also, November 9th is the 2024 Capital Classic presented by the Austin Scale Modeler Society. This year's show theme is the movies. The show location is the Williamson County Expo Center at Tyler, Texas. The doors open at 9 a.m. Head over to www.austinsms.org for all your information. Remember to send your upcoming shows and events to the Plastic Posse Podcast at gmail.com, and we will add them to the calendar on our Facebook page.
All right, thanks, Grant. Let's kick it over to JB. I want to talk about before MMSI and SMC, he had an opportunity to attend another show, which was RockCon. So, John, what was going to that show like?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Gosh, it's only been a few weeks, but I feel like a lot has happened between RockCon and this episode. But yeah, I got to start off a major thank you to David Wassel. He's a supporter, listener, and great friend. He hosted myself, Steve Baker, and Jim Rice at his guest house, and it was absolutely fantastic. One common theme throughout all of these events we go to, and we meet all of our friends. It doesn't matter the destination, but the experiences are all the same, and that we just get together and have fun and talk models, and that was no different at RockCon. So RockCon was held in Little Rock, Arkansas by the Central Arkansas Scale Modelers. It was an IPMS Region 6 convention held 27th and 28th of this past, just about a month ago, actually, when this episode drops. And it was really fun. I went down a few days early, flew down with Steve Baker. We got a car and then spent the time at Dave's house. But what was cool is we took a painting class by Jim Rice, which Scott has mentioned connecting with him at MSI. Jim is just an amazing person, extremely talented figure painter, and like I said, just an overall great guy. There were also seminars by Wes Salazar, which I had never met before, but Wes is a super cool dude. His paint finishes are amazing. And he hung out with us too over at Dave's house, and just another really nice person from a genre of modeling that I'm really not exposed to a lot. And he kind of sets the standard in auto finish because, man, his stuff is so nice. And then also there were some weathering classes by Stan Spooner as well. And this was, like I said, all held outside Little Rock in a little town called Jacksonville, but beautiful show. I want to say they probably had 400 or 500 models, all really high quality. It was open judging type, so gold, silver, bronze. There was no best of show that I recall, but there were a lot of theme awards. What I thought what was very nice and touching is that they gave a few memorial awards out to some of the members of their club who had recently passed, and those members' families were there. So that was really touching. And again, kind of goes to the fact that this is just more than a hobby. And what's really touching is seeing the emotions of those families just in that moment of handing out an award in their members' honor. It's really touching. There were some messages by the daughter of one of them that talked about the club being his family, and it just again shows this is more than a hobby, and it's great to talk about it. It's great to experience it, and I'll wrap up by saying thank you again to David Wassel, Ken, everyone from there, everyone from the show. It was just overall great time, beautiful venue. I got to go back next year, just because it was a cool show. And then a few other posse members showed up. So Scott Whiteco showed up. Probably got his name wrong. Sorry about that, Scott. But overall, really great time. And I'll kick it back over to Scott.
Yeah, thanks, JB. Man, sounds like a lot of fun. And yeah, we ran into some of those guys over at MMSI who had been, and yeah, incredible work by that group. Good friends down there. All right. Well, TJ has a discussion topic.
Yeah. We've probably talked about this before. The more I thought about it, I feel like we've kind of broached this once or twice. But it kind of spun from a post. It seems like the thing is like a big long post on Facebook after SMC where you tag everyone that you talk to and you post some pictures and whatever. Everyone seems to do it. Even I do it, and I'm not one for doing that kind of stuff on Facebook. I usually relegate my Facebook time to posting Simpsons memes and models in the Plastic Posse group. That's pretty much all I use Facebook for. But Adrian Davies, who is one of the Four Corners guys and just an all around awesome guy, just really cool. And in his big long post, he started it with I'll just read it and we'll kind of go from there. Oh, it's only a hobby. It's a common excuse that we give to the quote unquote civilians for what we do, but we really need to leave that thinking behind. Yes, we enjoy it immensely. It helps us relax and like so many other things that come from this hobby, but in a much broader way, it's not what we do. It's who we are. And that kind of struck me really, I don't know, it struck a chord with me because, I like to get introspective about what we do, just like anyone else, and try to wax philosophical and all that. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, that's if there's anything that I do in my life that I really identify with, it's this. And I think I've probably said that before. I love being a father. I like being married. I love my wife. I love my family. I tolerate my job for the most part, but man, if someone asked me, who are you? The first thing I would say was, well, I'm a modeler. I'm a scale modeler. I build models. It doesn't, unless you really do it and do it in the way that at least I do, where you share the view I have it, which is, I know sounds kind of pretentious and all this other crap, like, oh, not everyone sees it the way I do, but that is the truth. Not everyone sees it the way that I do, and it's maybe the way some of you guys do, and that's okay. I'm not trying to take anything away from them. I wish people saw it the way I did, because it's almost kind of sad that it really does give me a sense of purpose. Man, I love making models. I really do. It's the greatest thing in the world. And we've kind of talked that before. I mean, I've met now all my best friends from building models, which is just insane. It's crazy for me to think that. And Jeff Feller and I have spoken about this, and his post that he made on his Facebook page was really good, because he kind of talked about it too. And I've told him over many drinks, but after our AMPS meeting and when we've just been hanging out, I never in a million years thought, and not even just 4 years ago when we started this podcast, which has been the catalyst for all of it, but just in the hobby in general, when I built my first model 10, 11 years ago, I never thought that within a decade, I would be traveling across the country, across the freaking world, to see people and hang out with these people and display my work and win freaking medals and all this stuff. And it's like, I can't believe any of this has happened. I would much rather do all of this than work. It's just like full stop. It's been hard for me to be at work lately, and not just because it's work and work sucks, but I'm like, I want to be at home building a freaking model. That's what I want to do. I've got all this other to worry about at work that I just don't feel like dealing with right now, because when I go home, I don't have to do any of that, and I can just build a model. And I don't know. I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I'd be interested to see, hear your guys' take, and whether you feel this way, or if you don't. Like, I'd love to hear the opposite too.
I'll go, TJ. I'm in a business networking group, and we get together and we have one-on-one meetings where we try to find ways that we can give referrals to each other's businesses. And the way you do that is you get to know each other as people. You're going to refer people more if you consider them as friends and you really know who they are. And so people will say, well, who's Scott and what do you do? And so I'll tell them that I build models, and we have this podcast about models, and usually get the muggle stare, that blank stare. What are you talking about? You're talking about that hobby where you used to buy models in toy stores and stuff, but then you show them pictures and you show them the podcast, and all of a sudden the light bulb goes on, and they realize, oh yeah, man, you're kind of serious about it, and so just kind of echo what TJ said. This hobby brings constant inspiration, and it brings friendship, and it brings a sense of community, and it brings a common language, across continents and across genres and across all these other boundaries. It's incredible. And so, yeah, it is what we do. It is a hobby, but it's definitely, like you said, TJ, it's more than that.
What, Scott? Actually, I mean, it's kind of dawned on me. It's not my hobby. It's just what I do, right? My hobby is video games. Video games are a hobby. That's what I do when I don't want to do anything else. I don't care about anything else. I want to turn my brain off and watch the flashing lights. That's a hobby. To me, that is a hobby. Going to the range and putting in holes in paper, to me, that's a hobby. This isn't a hobby, right? None of this says hobby behind me. This is hundreds and thousands of hours and way more money than I would be willing to admit to anyone is sitting all right behind me, and in this room over here and in this room over here. I don't know. That's kind of cheesy, I guess, but no, this is not a hobby. This is just what I do. This is kind of like Adrian said, this is what I am. It's not like, and that sounds dumb as shit, and I fully admit that. And people that aren't into this are like, what in the are you talking about? Like, dude, it's just toys. Like, really? Do you feel that way about Legos? Some people do. I would argue. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like other people may kind of understand this that have similar interests. But yeah, it has gotten to the point for me at least. Like, this isn't just a hobby, right? This is me. This is what I do. If I wasn't doing this, I honestly don't know what else I would do with my time. Stare at the wall, I guess. I can only play video games for so long before I'm like, I've had enough. I've killed enough demons in Diablo. I've don't want to kill anymore lately.
Yeah, I hear that. And I like the way you put that. Yeah, it's what we do. And I'm sure hobbies and passion, passion things that people do. I'm sure there's other people that, kind of do their own things and like what, Doug and Clint and some of those people do with raising reptiles and things. There's lots of things that could inspire passion, but I think the more that you put into something, the more you're going to get back out of it. And I certainly, feel that way about this pursuit of this hobby or insert better word here. I don't know, Jensen, what do you think? You're over there. You have a very thinking kind of philosophical look right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to kind of agree with what's been said. Yeah, I don't class this as a hobby. This is literally kind of all I do. I don't do this just to prevent myself being bored. I do it because I really love doing it. Like TJ said, the investment that's gone into it, hours, money, specifically money. I brag to people about this. A lot of people, there's these age-old tales where people are, oh, I'm really ashamed to admit I'm a modeler. And I'm like, yeah, I build plastic things and I put them together in my little room and paint them with. It's like, no, I openly go to people and be like, yeah, I build models. I travel the world. I go to conventions. I do a podcast. I been in magazines. Like, I brag about this. This is pretty much my entire personality. Yeah, I have other hobbies I do when I'm not doing this. Like I'll play snooker, I'll play pool, I'll play games a bit. I play D&D. They're hobbies, but this is kind of me. This makes up a lot of my personality. What you put into it and what you get out of it, I can't just say it's just a hobby. And like I said earlier, I don't just do it to stop me from doing nothing. I do it because what I get out of it is worth doing. The enjoyment, the friendship I get out of it, the experiences, like for example, just SMC alone we've just done. I'll remember that forever. And there are certain, I'll say quote unquote hobbies that you can't get that out of. They are literally just things you do. It's like, oh, if I'm not at work, I'll do this. It's like, nah, I do this because it's fun. I love it. It's great. And the people I've met in quote unquote just a hobby is it's insane. Yeah, like when I was younger, I was like, I'd love to go to America one day. I never thought scale modeling would be the catalyst for making that happen, and yet it did. Yeah, it's definitely not just a hobby. It's a way of life.
When you said that, like our trip is one you'll remember for the rest of your life. I don't know. Yeah, I don't get that out of my other hobbies. I used to play paintball. I had good days on the paintball field where it was awesome. I was playing well. My friends, we were all kicking ass, like barely got hit. I'm getting guys out like all the time. Yeah, that's not okay. Those are fuzzy memories to me. But us meeting in Las Vegas, core memory. The fun time in Omaha, core memory. The trip to Texas, core memory. Every trip to JB's, core memory. Right? 2 SMC trips, freaking core memory. Driving down to Atlanta with 2 clowns in my car, core memory, right? Like those are the things that will stick with me forever. That time I beat Halo 2, that's not a core memory. Halo 2 is an awesome game. I love the ending. I remember the ending. I couldn't tell you anything else about the day that I beat that game other than I know that I did it because I remember the cutscene. But the trips we've taken and the things that we've done, all because we stick pieces of plastic together and paint it, that's, to me, that's just different. That's just, again, that's just not a hobby, right? Like I've never gotten that out of any other thing that I've done in my life for fun. not even for money, really. Yeah, it's just different. It's hard. I don't know. I was talking with my mom about it yesterday, I think maybe the day before. Just, I don't know, because I've been kind of off since I've been back, and part of it's because I don't feel particularly good. Thanks, Jackson. And the other part of it is I don't know if it's like not necessarily depression, but just man, I just spent like a week with like people that I love to the end of the earth, and you know, saw people that I look up to and admire, and be counted among them, and treated as an equal, which to me is just the most amazing thing in the world. And it's a feeling that I don't know how to really put into words. And I come back to getting up early and going to work. And it's like, yeah, this sucks. This is not what I had going on last week, which when I was exhausted, working off of 4 hours of sleep, hungover, maybe even a little bit drunk still when I woke up, and then going from that and not even caring. Didn't care that I was getting 4 hours of sleep. I was excited to get up in the morning to go spend all day, traveling around Belgium looking at shit. And then when we get to the show, I'm excited to get up and go down and eat breakfast and see everybody, and then go to the walk around and spend money and all that kind of stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I scale modeling has defined who I am. It's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. It's probably cliche, but as I think about, I grew up in an extremely small town in Pennsylvania, Rust Belt, very small town feel in a sense. You don't get exposed to international things, or dare I say culture. I think the culture in our place is the local Italian restaurant. But modeling has given me so much more. And I think about, Jensen, you had mentioned going internationally. My first airplane flight was to a model show. My first international friend was a scale modeler. My first international trip, part of that was scale modeling. The best memories I have with my dad are through scale modeling. And scale modeling has given me exposure to the real world. It has gotten me in front of people that I would have otherwise have never have met. Good example, I was telling a coworker today, going to SMC, meeting everyone. I have a friend in Malta, for crying out loud. Who the hell can say that in the United States? No, like 7 people probably. And there's people in Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Singapore. I was just messaging Calvin Tan yesterday. I mean, the exposure and the diversity of individuals that are in this hobby are unrivaled. And I am extremely grateful, as TJ said, to be a part of that community. And at SMC, that's really what is embodied there, is just that culture, that ability to get exposure to things that you've never seen before. So for me, that's how it's developed me as a person. I'll also say everywhere I've lived, from the moment I was born to where I sit today, a scale model has been in the house or room I have lived in. I took scale models with me to undergrad. I took scale models with me to grad school. If I had an internship to the summer, there was always a toolbox and a scale model going with me. Even abroad, spending time in France and then Hong Kong on different trips that extended months long, I would always either have a modeling reference book with me or a kit or something I've bought from the hobby that was with me. So really it's in my blood. It probably is. When you think about this hobby as well, take a look at your hands. I bet a couple times a week you look down, you've nicked yourself, you got paint on them. Like, the hobby is with you everywhere you go. And, when we're walking around towns in Belgium, we're taking pictures of buildings because we want to build models of them. And it's just like some random wall with literal like green garbage or some chip paint. It's like, who in their right mind would do that? A scale modeler that is of a level of obsession that is unrivaled. And I think it's also important to point out is it's not only civilians within, the real world per se, people that aren't in the hobby. And I love talking about it, and tell you what, I don't know, maybe my coworkers humor me, but I've said before, like, I like talking about it with them. It's kind of cool. But I'll also say there's a community. How can I say this? I treat this as a lifestyle, as we've talked about. There's people in the hobby that do it as a hobby, and that's okay. And it kind of gets back to the topic of good stress. Like, I find I'm happy that some of you, I think most of us online right here understand what I'm talking about. But there's groups of people in this hobby, and again, everybody chooses to do the hobby differently, and that's why the Plastic Posse is the way it is, because we accept everyone. But there's also like, I think sometimes it might be hard for people just to understand how serious we are about it, but serious in just I'm having so much fun. I take it seriously, if that makes sense. And TJ's comments around, literally blacking out the world and getting excited, like, it's almost you put your body in a different world. And this is, waxing philosophically, delusions of grandeur, call it what you want, but this is something different. It's something different. And it's something that I know and love, and it'll always be with me. I bet I have something modeling related in my car right now from a swap meet or something. I bet there's something down. I bet if I go look through my car right now, I can find something modeling related. My mom's, condo she has with her new husband, there's modeling there. I bought literally a travel modeling thing and have it there, so when I go visit, I can just bring a kit and I don't have to worry about the X-Acto blade on the plane. Like, who the stages scale modeling supplies across the country? Someone that loves this hobby, and that's me. But I'll pause there. I get really passionate about it because it's given me so much in life. It's given me you 6 individuals on the call now, hundreds that listen, and thousands, like literally thousands of friends because of this. So I'll yield the floor.
I will agree. Something you said, JB, really stuck with me. It's a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle. For me, it definitely. I live this hobby in such a way that, like the rest of you, I think, I actually took kits with me to Afghanistan. I took stuff with me to Iraq every time I went. It was just, I go to stores with my wife and I look for stuff I can use with models. I do that I go to grocery stores. I could use that little thing. I could use that little thing. I do that every day. It's crazy how we see this. And when I think of, there's a memory pops in my head right now of this last couple of weekends ago with Scott. He flew in on a Friday afternoon and left on a Sunday to Chicago. That's how much he loved it. That wasn't an easy flight, and he didn't take an easy airline. So what that kind of dedication, and the dedication we see from Craig and Sam flying from Australia to America to see these shows, and the dedication we see from every modeler that's on our page and Facebook page, and what we see, and it is different levels for everybody. And it's, maybe some people weren't raised with it 24/7, or some of us were. And it's crazy how we could sit here 2 years ago. This wasn't happening. I wasn't here. And now I am, and I'm talking to you guys. I just went to MMSI for the second time. I'm hoping to go to SMC next year, or at least World Model Expo next year. And I've already started working on going to Australia in 2026. And I never would have done that before. I never would have. And it's this hobby that does it. I have, not hobby, it's this lifestyle that it did it. I have hobbies. I play golf when I can. That's a hobby. This is a lifestyle. And it really, really is. I've got a kit in my car because I know I heard it rattling in the back of my car this morning when I was going to work. So don't feel alone there, JB.
Dang, you guys need to clean your cars out, man.
No. I've got a little desk in my office, which I'm lucky enough to work for an organization that allows me to put a little working desk where I can work on stuff if I have time during lunch or something like that. So I have a desk in my office at work where I can work on stuff. My boss talks to me about it. We have a tunnel where you go through when you come to our company. And, if anybody's out there wants to go see my company, just let me know. And there's some of and there's stuff in there that the company is building, that the people build. Like we have a lot of guys that do battle robots and stuff like that, and they have pictures of them. And there's a section in there of my models. It's crazy, and I'm just lucky enough to have that. But it's not a hobby for me, or like the rest of us. It's just a lifestyle. That's all it is.
I'd like to say that there are so many people that I've talked to, and a lot of them, they do seem shocked when you say I build models. They build plastic models. And I mentioned it to church once. I said, I'm into modeling, and I paused just to see I'm into models, and I waited for them to see how they reacted. And then I paused and I said, okay, plastic models. But in talking to people, especially with the men I talked to, I have yet to find somebody that didn't build a model at one time in their life. That as a kid, they probably built models, and some of them still have Lego. a lot of them, the reason they didn't keep building them is because it was just they glue this stuff together, and it became a toy. It was never clean. It looked like Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes built his Phantom, and it was covered with glue and fingerprints, and he couldn't see through the windscreen, and that kind of thing. And then when they see pictures when I share pictures, not just of what I do, but I go onto the Posse page on Facebook and I start showing them pictures of what our friends are doing, and they're absolutely blown away. So I would say that people are less likely to think we're weird because of it. I think in the end they become kind of fascinated by what we're able to do. And then there's the things, because of what we do, we look around us and we see things every day. Like Grant was saying, you see things at the store and things you can use. Well, what about things we see in real life? If you watched the Starship launch, it'll be a couple weeks from the time we this comes out, but how did you see that and say, oh my gosh, how would I build something like that? How would I replicate that? I was at Arches with my wife 2 weeks ago, and there's incredible formations everywhere, and she's looking at me like, what are you staring at? I'm just staring at this sandstone wall. And she's like, what are you looking at? I said, I'm trying to figure out how I would replicate this, because there's layers, there's chips in the rock, and there's layers in different colors, and it almost, this reds and oranges and even black streaks across it. And how would I replicate that? And that's how we look at things. Almost everywhere we look, we see something we want to build, or we think we can replicate, or how would I do this, or could I include something like that? Could I do this for a diorama, or a facade work that looks like this? It's everywhere. It becomes part of who we are.
Yeah, like when you're sitting in your car with your wife and you're behind a garbage truck and you take a picture of the rust and the chipping paint on the back of the garbage truck, and your wife turns and looks at you and just shakes her head. You're such a nerd.
Or if you fall off the back of a Sherman and wilts, and you just can't help it. You had to get up there because I needed to see what casting marks were on the roof of the turret, and then you wind up on your ass on the ground. Not saying that I know from experience, but I definitely fell off of a tank in Wilts, Belgium a week ago, and it hurt.
Jensen and I thought like a tree fell over.
That's probably what it looked like. My fat ass.
We're like, oh my God, what happened?
For anyone that doesn't know listening, tanks are tall. I've heard, and they are very tall. And I don't know if this is an accurate statistic or what, but I have definitely read that that one of the number one things that crew members would do in World War II that would cause them to be injured was dismounting from the tank, especially in a hurry. And I dismounted it in a hurry, just unintentionally. So please don't climb on stuff that you're not supposed to climb on, and then you won't get hurt.
It was a little slick, to be fair.
Yeah, it was.
It was, and I was wearing Vans because it's apparently all I own.
But I used your experience in Wilts to gauge how I mount the one in Bastogne. So I appreciate your fall was my rise. Yeah. So
I still have a bruise actually right here. Right because I landed. Something hit on the way down. I don't know if it was one of the tool clamps or the brush guard or the edge of the tank.
God, I wish we had a video of it. You tumbling your ass down the turret, down the side of the vehicle.
I don't, because I would be really rather embarrassed.
And this is the reason: do not climb on the monument signs against.
Yeah. In my defense, there was no sign that I saw in English.
In English, is probably the operative part of that sentence. All right. Well, this is a great conversation. Thanks, TJ. Really appreciate it. For all of our listeners out there, is it just a hobby for you? And if it is, that's okay. Like we've talked about, what's it like? Share your experiences with us. You can send us an email at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com, or you can post in the Plastic Posse group. We'd look forward to reading your thoughts on this discussion. All right. Well, let's step away just briefly for a quick word from Tankcraft. And on the other side, we'll have a segment of a number of people that went to SMC, kind of giving a show recap.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Plastic Posse podcast is sponsored by Tankcraft, makers of the highest quality cutting mats for your modeling bench. Tankcraft cutting mats are heavy-duty, self-healing, come in 2 awesome sizes, and have World War II tank and aircraft blueprint-style drawings on them. Spread out your next build on an olive green M4 Sherman or Dunkelgelb King Tiger mat, and they've got aircraft too. So check out all the designs and also their range of unique modeling tools over at tankcraft.com. That's TANKRAFT.com. Don't forget, Plastic Posse listeners can use the code POSSE15 to get 15% off your first order.
So, listeners, we're actually going to pull a little bit of an audible on this episode. We intended to have a deep dive on SMC with the folks that were in our car and talk about the experience both pre-show, post-show, and then everything in between. Well, that turned out to be a very long segment, so we're going to have that as our next complete episode. So hang on a little bit more, and we'll jump into SMC in episode 106.
Let's move on over to Doug, who has some feedback.
Well, I want to talk about one thing. We had a lot of feedback. We had a lot of people discussing the SMC and MMSI shows that were being shared by the guys. But we had one particular piece of feedback from Russ Clark. This was in response to another piece of feedback that was read last time. This is what he had to say. He said, "Hey guys, first off, great podcast. I've been listening to the Plastic Posse for the last couple of years now. It really opened up the world of scale modeling for me. I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole actually went until I found the Triple P. I listened to episode 104 last night. When I heard Jeff Keenan's feedback about ADHD, it really hit home, and I felt like I should write in. I also have been diagnosed with ADHD. I had no idea how much it was affecting me until after I started taking medication for it. Thanks to my wife, I was able to get help. She's a mental health therapist and knew what I had before I did. The disorder would have a huge impact on scale modelers for sure. Like Jeff said, motivation is absolutely a big part of it. Everything can feel overwhelming because your ideas and plans are always circulating around in your head. Always feeling overwhelmed leads to feeling depressed about the hobby. It feels too difficult for you, or you feel like you're not smart enough to do it. Everyone is different and will be affected by ADHD differently. This is just my experience with it. I hope if anyone else in the hobby is struggling, they try to see what can be done about it. Medication isn't the only solution. Writing your thoughts down and making lists of your ideas helps to keep them from piling up in your head. Anyway, I hope this helps even a little bit. Keep up the great work, and I'll be looking forward to episode 105. Well, thank you, Russ. That's really great. I'm glad you're willing to share this and talk to us about it. I know a lot of people that struggle with all kinds of mental health issues, myself included. Being open and talking about it is going to be really helpful to a lot of people. So thank you.
After we got that feedback from Jeff in 104, I talked with Eric Brubaker, our friend in the Pacific Northwest, and he also deals with ADHD and color blindness. We've actually talked to him on the show before, but he's willing to maybe come back on at some point and talk about it. So we'll try after we kind of get back on top of things, maybe to put together a show, because I think, any way that we can help, if you have something that you're trying to overcome, realize that all of us deal with something. I think it's really inspiring. I want to thank all those guys for contributing their thoughts to this. And if you've got any feedback on this or anything else for the posse, again, send it to us at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. Grant, let's do a brief recap on MMSI. Show recaps are the order of the day.
Yeah, we were lucky enough, me and Scott, to attend MMSI in Chicago. It's the Military Miniature Society of Illinois, made famous definitely by their founder, Shep Payne. It's a annual show in October. It's a fantastic show. It's a great show. Categories are kind of set up like some shows. There's an ordnance, a figures ordnance section, a sci-fi section, and a figure section. And within those sections, there's an open category, which basically means it's modified, scratch built figures and stuff like that goes in open. Then you have a painter section. which is basically the same thing, but you're judged on your painting skills for that thing. This last year, I don't know, Scott, if you remember, I never saw the number, but there's definitely more, I think, this year than there was last year, figures and things on the table. It was a great show. The likes of Bill Horan were there, Douglas Cohen, Penny Meyer, James Rice. James Rice actually gave a demo before the show actually started, which was I didn't get to see. I talked to him a little bit. John Rosenkrantz and just many, many, many more people were there. What I find very interesting about the show is that they show focuses on gold, silver, bronze for the modelers, and everybody that goes leaves with some kind of acknowledgement of what they've done and how they've gotten better over the years. And you have people that have gone to the show for 10, 20 years probably. And this is a great group of people. Jim, the grand poobah, I'll say, of the show, is a very nice gentleman. He lays down the law and he does it correctly, in my opinion. This year was kind of interesting. They decided to go from a 3-judge panel to a 4-judge panel. I enjoyed it. Personally, I thought it was. I'm probably in the minority on this. I liked it because you had a little bit more communication on models before you actually separated and do your individual judging. I don't know, Scott. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I thought it worked well. I kind of wondered if maybe it might be a little bit unwieldy, but it was planned well. You know, as you said, Jim and Barry run the contest. They do a really, really good job. And Pat Vess and the whole MMSI team put on a really fantastic show. This was the 49th show. So next year they'll have their big 50th show, which is really, really great. As you mentioned, it's a storied club. I think its roots trace back even before Shep Payne, back to when people collected tin soldiers and painted tin soldiers. And so it's a very storied club. You mentioned, a lot of the great modelers. And then, of course, you had like Andy Golden and Steve Husted and, just incredible people. The only thing I don't like about MMSI is it's always the same weekend or almost the same weekend as SMC. So that's really unfortunate, but certainly one of the premier shows in the US. One of the other podcasts in the space, good guys, but I'm going to disagree with them a little bit. They like to call it a figure show. It's a figure show, but it's really more than that. And it's really got, what I love about the show is the sort of the spirit of camaraderie. It's the people that have been going for a long, long time. And so they really lead and they're quick to take people under their wings. Josh Buck went with me out to the show and we were on the elevator and John Rosengrant got on and I introduced the two of them. And Josh, just genuinely had one of those moments where he tripped over his tongue and he couldn't say anything, it's like, oh, you're John Rosengrant, but John doesn't act that way. He's quick to, talk about his work with you. There were pieces by Shep Payne for sale at the show, which is great. Shep's DNA really runs through the show. Again, just Pat and Jim and Barry and the whole MMSI team, they run a first class organization and a first class show. I love going. I'll go whenever I have a chance. So it's really terrific. Had a great time hanging out. Our buddy Gary Baker. That's always a lot of fun. One of the things, I took a picture and posted it, but Barry Biediger's wife Joan had a haircut and apparently she didn't love it. And Gary Baker, our friend, his job in real life is to do really high-end hair for fashion models and things like that. And so I walked by the judge's room and Gary was in the judge's room giving Joan a haircut. So I mean that's just kind of the environment that you're in, the atmosphere that you're in. Everybody knows everybody's really welcoming. There's no sense of exclusion. They have a kind of a very renowned hospitality suite up on the 11th or 12th floor and everybody's invited and it's just a really terrific show. So
Yeah, you're speaking of the champagne dioramas. I want to be. It was awe-inspiring to see Lady Be Good, the B-24, B-24, I believe, and the tiger, or the elephant in the from the cover of the diorama models, with the German standing on the road, the horse-drawn cart coming up. Those are two models that I remember from the champagne book. And somewhere behind me is that book and stuff like that. That was just the thing. There's one of the great things about the show too is I like the massive diversity of stuff that's on the tables. Everything from flats that are painted like Rick Taylor does stuff. Penny Joan, Eager did a fantastic one. Also, another beautiful. There was toy soldiers on one section of the thing. There was models. There was figures. There was this in the open fantasy, there was a thing called Food Fight. I don't know how to explain it, to tell you the truth. It was really cool because I actually got to judge it, but it was just the idea and the concept and the building of it was it was very interesting. It was very neat. It was very awe-inspiring, and the creativity of a lot of these things. I mean, when you're looking at something like John Brown by Douglas Cohen, which is a large diorama. I don't know how many figures are in that, but if you look at that and you see all the little hidden things, like the guys on the very bottom floor, there's prisoners holding onto the bars that are on ground floor, and the individuals, it's just an amazing piece of work. You see something like that, you see John Rosenkrantz. He did a Sherman on Wajima that was just immaculate. Great name for it. I can't remember it, but it was like, it's great.
You've got to talk about Scott Primo's Best of Show, which was a figure he did called Ascension, and
that was
incredible.
Yeah, that was a beautiful, beautiful model. He scratch built everything but the head. Everything was scratch built, and it was just the pictures do not do it any justice. And I'm sure the same, the stuff at SMC, but the bottom lighting of that he basically painted on, it was a phenomenal. He also had another figure over in Fantasy Open also that was just, I can't remember the name of it, but it was just beautiful. Scott, if you're listening, and you're just unbelievable work, and congratulations, so well deserved. I can't think of anything that was close to it on the table. So it was amazing. And that's all I can say. But for me, it's a fun weekend, and I had a great time. I was able to fly in Thursday, spend a couple hours hanging around and talking to some people. I met one of my all-time heroes in the hobby. Bill Chilstrom was there. I got my picture taken with him. I've actually got two of his figures that he used for one of his diorama books over here on my case, and that was huge for me. There's like I said, there was Sabat, there was Last Calvary, and all these other guys. And we went to dinner with some great people on Saturday night. Had a great time, some really good pizza. I really do appreciate the time and spending time with Doug and Josh and everybody else, and Gary and all these other people was fantastic.
Yeah, if you go to Chicago, you have to have some Lou Malnati's, right? I mean, that's Andy and Greg kind of took us there, but Derek Post and Josh Buck were newbies, first times. It's always fun to see what new people think of the show, and they were both blown away and had a great time. If you haven't seen the pictures, the MMSI group posted those to the posse. You can go ahead and take a look at those photos and see what you think for yourself. But yeah, just a great show. Saw Mike and Dave from Plastic Model Mojo there, and just a whole bunch of people. It was great. It was whirlwind. I made a mistake, as Grant alluded. Josh said my travel booking privileges have been revoked. We flew in, literally landed at 3:00 on Friday. Ran up to the room, dropped some stuff off, put the models on the table, and we were off to the judges meeting almost that quickly, and then flew out again Sunday morning. So it was great. And then the whole weekend we were looking at pictures from Jensen and JB and TJ, keeping us up to date on what was happening on the other other side of the pond, and that was a lot of fun as well. But great weekend. The MMSI crew is great. If you're thinking about going next year to their 50th show, you won't be sorry. Consider it. But it's a great show, and they do a superb job. So, all right. Well, let's move on over to JB. Not for another show recap, but some cross promotion.
Thanks, Scott. The Plastic Posse is just one of several great scale modeling podcasts. If you're interested in more scale modeling content, check out modelpodcast.com, where you can find links to many of other great podcasts about our hobby. The Posse also recommends several excellent modeling blogs and vlogs, such as Rick Lawler's Propaganda YouTube channel, Clayton Ockerby's Workbench Hobbies YouTube channel, Stephen Lee's Sprue Pie with Frets blog, Chris Wallace's Model Airplane Maker blog, Jim Bates, a Scale to Canadian TV on YouTube, and David Brian Bridges' blog at DB Scale Modeling Studio blog. So with that, back to you, Scott.
All right. Hey, Jensen, got a question for you.
What's that?
How's the weather over there in Preston?
It's pitch black. It's 3 a.m. I've got a horrible head cold. I'm exhausted after SMC. But it's nothing that some merch couldn't fix. That's right, everyone. It's time for merch. If you would like to rep the posse, check out our awesome merch on the Triple P Spring page. You can find coffee mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, or even some of our world-famous Triple P lounge trousers. You can order all your stylish Plastic Posse merch on the web at loungetrousers.com.
He's a professional. What can I say? Well, thanks.
It's why I get these all expenses paid for trips across the world.
That's right. That's right. Well, thanks a lot for riding along with us for episode 105. We appreciate JB, TJ, and Jensen showing up with their disease that Jackson shared with them, and appreciate them being with us. But we appreciate everybody's support, all of our amazing patrons, and of course, we want to thank Tankcraft, Bases by Bill, To Me USA, and AK Interactive for supporting our podcast and what we do. Remember, we are available on YouTube, and we will return in 2 weeks. Do you have any feedback, suggestions, ideas, or you want to drop us a line? You can send your feedback to us at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. And having said that, be good, be happy, and yee-haw!
One of the ways that you can help support the Plastic Posse is to become a Plastic Posse Outrider. If you want to become a Plastic Posse Outrider, it's easy. You can do it even wearing lounge trousers. Just go to our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/Plastic Posse Podcast and set up a recurring donation there. These contributions help offset the cost of bringing you the posse. There are 3 different tiers of supporting, starting at just $1 a month. There are some great benefits to being an Outrider, like early access to podcasts, premium access to the hosts, and a chance to appear on the podcast, and exclusive Triple P content at social events at model shows.
Let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These contributors help the posse do what we do, and we sincerely thank them for their support. Starting with Richard Lane as our newest deputy, we also have Robbie Knopfs, Wesley Becker, Eric DeGleesh, David Wassel, Matt Tutman, Glenn Felon, Patrick Neff, Zach Pease, Robert Halleck, Brett Marcan, Greg Williams, Nick Wolf, Brian Clark, Sean Earl, Black Hat Scale Models, Ben Hardaway, Craig Jarbo, Adam Jackson, Red Beach One Studios, James Morando, Mike Norris, Stephen Rodwell, Rick Cooper, Eric Cravina, John Hale, Eric Kane, Logan Hansen, Paul Burdett, Tim Gidcombe, Dan Newman, Robert Blocker, Tyler Moore, Derek Post, Craig Flint, Scale Model Craft, Kenneth Childress, Nick Butta, Drew Gardner, Scott Hall, Frank Perrone, the voice of Bob, Jeremy Diamond, Ryan Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Idemill, Steve Baker, Joe Porche, Patrick Brown, Jay Kidd, Brandon Gentry, Lee Fogel, Robert Klein, Mark Ewing, Toadman, Model Doc, Doug Reed, Greg James, Les Procala, John Everett, Uncle Buck, Mark Bradley, Eric Brubaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Matt Johnston, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Talley, Previous Seat, Mediocre Middle-Aged Modeler, Dan Knoffel, and JC Osborne.
Let's not forget the posse foreman. This crew is made up of posse outriders who give the deputy marshals a hand. And we also want to thank them for their support. David, Dwayne, AK Armor, Bill, JAK, Casey, Theresa, Raphael, Russ, Stefan, Mikkel, Lavar, Gil, Mike, Michael, Steve, Scott, Emery, The Krieger, Ozzy Modeler, William, Jeff, Eddie, Russ, Warhoff Models, G. Baker, Tom's Stuff, Crazy Loca, Len, Cliff, Damon, Cody, Nukeman Mike, Ash, Irish Pat, Paul, iBones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, Joel, Chris, Robert, Jamie, MD Models, Papa Steve Munsell, JV, Eric, Matthew, and David.
I wonder what the deal is with iBones Models. Does anybody know?
No deal. I don't have no idea.
I don't even know if he knows.
That is extremely accurate.
We love you, Ian. And of course, our $1 and free Posse Outriders. Lastly, would you kindly consider posting a review of the Triple P on your favorite podcast platform? That would help us out. Each of your posted reviews helps other modelers find the Plastic Posse.
Before we start
Wunderbar.
recording, I'd like to ask a question, and we'll see if people are listening to this point. If you don't mind,
Shoot.
well, first I'll start. I did that Nashorn, and I did the winter white camouflage. I'd never done anything like it, and I don't usually try new things that often. But maybe if I could get y'all, the five of you, to come up with something new for me to try, some new technique that I've never done. Something else that you think I ought to give a try, and I could give updates on that, because I really enjoyed doing that. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'd like to try new things. I just never know what to start with next, or if I just want to keep doing, the status quo and do what I already know how to do. What do
All
you
right,
think?
I got one for you. You may have done this before. I don't know. I don't think that you have, but scratch build a facade or a building.
Okay.
Yes.
Kind of like, I mean, if Jensen can do it,
Yeah.
literally anyone can do it.
Yeah, if
I've never done it, but it doesn't seem like that it's that hard if Jensen can do it.
Yeah,
It's true.
the most I've scratch built was like a brick wall. So
Yeah,
like a short,
would-
like a small, like waist high brick wall.
I would say pull a night shift and find a cool picture of a small. It doesn't have to be big. I mean, it can even be the size of, like not a huge, like the AK facades are really tiny. I mean, something even it's upside down. Something even that size.
Australia.
Yeah, that's it. That's, I think, is a good challenge. I have never done that, and I'd like to do it at some point. But that's
All right.
that's my vote. I vote
Yeah,
scratch
I've
build
thought
a
about it.
building / facade.
Yep.
Okay,
That's
cool. I
better.
thought about it before. I just never
Yeah.
have gone that far. So yeah, good idea.
And
Better than
Martin's,
Ryan edition.
yeah, sorry, Jensen. Yeah, Martin's videos there for a while. He really kind of got into, when he was working with foam, really showing you what to do and how to lay out the lines and everything. So there's some pretty good info.
I actually kept a lot of the foam scraps, like real thin pieces when I was cutting with the foam cutting table. I was keeping all the thin pieces that I left behind, so I might have scraps that might be really handy in that.
And you can get like strips. I mean, I don't know what kind of stocks of styrene you have. I've got a handful of sizes of strips, but for the most part, that shit's pretty cheap. Like it's not
Yeah.
really expensive, and
Yeah,
it can last. I've got strip styrene that I bought probably 10 years ago that I still have
I've got
in
it
my
in
cabinet.
strips. I've got it in sheets. I've
Yeah.
got all kinds of styrene.
Shit, I got strip styrene that's probably 40 years old. Yeah, it
Yeah.
never goes bad. One thing I do regret not buying at SMC though, as we talk about scratch building facades, like that yellow
The carving
foamy.
foam.
Oh, I forgot to buy some there.
Yeah.
I got home, I was like, damn it, that was because I could have fit it. That was the one thing that would have been a nice item to buy at a relatively inexpensive price.
Is that like denser than like the pink
Yeah.
person? Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
Is it the
you can't
same
cut it.
stuff that Rick had?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't
find
cut
that
it.
stuff.
No, you can get it. I
Where-
bought some before.
Have you?
It's a little more expensive.
It's expensive,
okay.
and
Yeah.
you cannot cut it with a wire cutter. It's
No.
Oh,
it's
wow.
too dense.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to saw it with like a
Oh,
small
wow.
saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried. I know that because I tried cutting with my wire cutter. It's like nope.
I will say when I was in the UK last time, I did bring back foam from the 140 hobby shop in
Mm-hmm.
London. They had the gray foam that Night Shift uses. So
Oh,
I
wow.
bought two big, like, 2x2 sheets. And my wife's like, what are you putting in your bag there? I'm like, oh, I just, bought some foam.
It's walnut strips.
Walnut strips. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Feller, God bless the man. He flew all the way to Belgium, and I think he got more excited seeing walnut strips in a small hobby shop in Bastogne than a Sherman tank that liberated, Nazi Europe, for crying out loud. We're walking through the streets at midnight, and he's talking to Mickle in the back about hardwood strips. And Jensen and I up front are like, what the hell's going on? Like, it touched
excuse
his
us?
life.
Okay, so here's the backstory because obviously you guys weren't there, so
No.
you guys haven't met my friend Jeff. Jeff is how I've described the coolest person I know.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
full on, like legit. You look at this guy, you're like, that dude is cool, and then he is right,
Yeah.
and amazing. I love the guy.
Amps
he is
master.
so freaking cool. He's an amps master, by the way.
Oh, wow.
One of his in one of his hobbies that's not scale modeling is he is a woodworker. He's an app developer. That's what he does for a living. He's into design and all that kind of stuff. So he, repulsors his own furniture, builds his own furniture type of stuff. Build every diorama he builds a custom travel case for it that fits just the diorama. Fantastic. It's awesome. I've been to his workshop because his model area is in the same room as he's got like a little wood shop in his basement. Freaking sweet. God, it's so cool. So the man loves wood. And we walked into whatever that little hobby store is in Belgium.
Hit a double, yep.
Get a double, and right when you walk in, it's really small, right? Like there was 6 of us, and we were like taking up all the space. And right when you walk in, there's a standing vertical rack of strips of hardwood for modeling. I would assume probably like architectural modeling. It's probably what it's for, but like you can't find that. That's not readily available. And we're all looking at kits, right? And he's like, "Oh my god, they have walnut!" And he like pulls out this strip of walnut, and he's like, "Man, you never find it in strips this small." And then, of course, for the rest of the trip, we just we're making fun of him, like, "Oh my god, walnut! Oh my god, walnut!"
Is this the guy that did the bass for you?
Yeah,
Did he?
yeah.
Okay.
Jeff is legit the coolest. I've probably told this story before, but when we had our amps Christmas party at his house last year, we were like, after we opened the presents, we're like sitting in his living room, and his house is amazing. It's like an older house in Fairfax County. It's just really nice, and he's done a ton of work in it. It's a beautiful house, and we're just sitting in his living room, get the fire going, freaking Christmas trees up, like we're drinking beer, and I'm like, man, this is a really nice chair. Jeff, he's like, yeah, I like to sit in this chair and drink whiskey and spin my jazz records. I'm like, Why are you so cool? Like, that's the coolest thing anyone could have said. And you're not even joking because I know that's what you do here.
He has a
And,
really
like,
nice smoking jacket, all quilted.
and I'm like, oh, man, like, I feel inadequate near you. You're just too cool. You are too cool for me. But it's like a non, like, I don't know. It's like, you know how the people can be like, oh, that guy's cool. He's probably like a pretentious cool. Not Jeff. Jeff's just cool, super friendly, chill, and funny. So
Well,
yeah,
he was too cool that he's no longer our friend. He's actually with the Four Corners team now.
He's now
British.
Yeah.
We traded him for Jensen, and we have a draft pick to be named later because that's not a 1-for-1 trade.
Not even.
They owe us draft picks, and we have a lot of room on the salary cap right now.
I was going to say, what's our salary cap?
The Brits are tapped out, but we got a lot of room to get a player to be named later.
Yeah, we're growing. We're a growing team.
That walnut strip story was the moment Jeff learned if you do anything slightly funny to these guys, it will be immortalized forever.
Oh my God, walnut strips!
Oh my God, walnut!
Oh my God! Oh man, Mr. Walnut. I mean, he straight up when he pulled it out, he like kept his fingers along the grain as he's pulling it up, and I'm like, I was standing there next to him. I was like, I got to get this on camera, so I took a picture of him, and the face, it's like probably like the face he saw when he first greeted his firstborn child, I bet. Pure joy, adulation, soft touch. Yeah, the guy, and we're legit. Then we're walking in Bastogne. It's 11 o'clock at night, misty, like stereotypical Ardennes. It's quiet. We're the only dumbasses on the street. And Mikkel's just blasted. Love the guy. And poor Mikkel's in the back, though, with Jeff. And TJ's up front. Jensen and I are behind him. And then all of a sudden, I just hear like, oh, yeah, and the hardwood and the walnut. And I'm like, is this guy talking about this? Like, we're walking through the streets of Bastogne, like middle of the night. There's a Sherman over there. Like, I'm like, I got to get this on camera. So I started recording. I have a video of it. It's great. And you can hear him talking about walnut to Mikkel. And Mikkel is just kind of giving the head bob.
I think that's also the 2 bottles of wine that he drank.
Yeah.
Dude, you guys have met Mikkel. He's Angel's friend, the really tall guy with blonde hair. Super cool dude. He just we're all drinking Belgian beer at our Airbnb, and he's just pounding wine.
Oh, jeez.
Like, he legit drank over 2 bottles of wine by himself. And we're me, Jeff, and JB are gaining up in the hot tub, and Mikkel's sitting out there next to us, just drinking wine. And he's like, "Do y'all want any more drinks?" I'm like, "Yeah, we'll take another beer." And he starts walking back to the house and just like drifting to the left, like, "Hey, buddy, like, you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, the door's over here. You're going this way, man."
Did you know I'm good. Did you know he changed our laundry over when he went back in?
Oh, jeez.
Because I had to wash the pants that I sullied when I fell off the back of the tank. And that's the thing I was most pissed about. Like, I brought 2 pairs of pants, and one of them is just covered in like street grime from like eating off the back of a tank. So luckily, when we got to Bastogne, there was a washing machine at the Airbnb, so we threw some stuff in there.
Which, by the way, that Airbnb was amazing.
Very
it was
good.
Cheaper than a hotel, and it was awesome.
That's great.
Had a stripper pole upstairs.
Strange 3rd floor. No one went up there.
It was weird.
It was weird.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing about it was all the rooms had a shower.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Not a toilet. Showers. No toilet, just showers.
Just showers? That's weird.
Mine and Jeff's bedroom had a sink at least. I don't think they all even had sinks.
Yeah, I had a sink, but it was strange.
And the shower was like, I should have taken a picture because, like, in my shower, half of it's just open.
Yeah,
like to nothing. I'm like, okay, like, sure. I'm like, this is the weirdest I've ever seen in my life.
There were definitely multiple people showers.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
But it had a lot of character. It was really cool.
Oh
It
yeah.
was
It was
two
lovely.
blocks off the main Dragon Bastone, and that ended up being one of the best nights during the trip.
Yep.
Lester Plaskett, I messaged him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in Bastogne." I'm like, "Well, how far are you away? We're here." And he's like, "Well, drop me an address." And then he shows up, and he
oh,
brought his
cool.
friend, and yeah, it was just the traveling battlefield detectives, and we'd pick up somebody everywhere we went. It was
That's
it was
great.
awesome.
When did you guys meet up with John Everett?
At the show because he was
Oh.
in England with his
England.
family.
Did you
And he
see the
went
picture?
back. Yeah,
Sorry.
at
Did you see the
Duxford.
picture of him? Yeah, taking the flight.
Yeah, like
Oh.
Snoopy riding the little house.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. I have to say, JB, I Thursday night I went in Jim Rice's painting class and I was like, hey, I just want to say hi and all this kind of stuff. And
Jim Rice is a cool dude.
Oh,
He
he's
is so
so-
cool.
he's one of those very nice guys. Great
He's a
guy.
good
So-
guy.
Gotta
trip-
go next year.
The trip before was fantastic, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's just something about that show that just
Yeah.
it hits like no other show does.
Cool.
And I was really worried that I oversold it to Jeff. Even though I know Jeff and we were like on the same wavelength a lot with how we view things, in the hobby and in general. And I told him before, I was like, man, I really hope I didn't oversell this, because I really do think this is like the most amazing place, just for a number of reasons.
Mhm.
And I think the first night, I think it was Friday night, we were at the Abbey Bar, the bar at the hotel, and like everyone's there, right? And they're all so nice. Like
Cool.
it is the American shows, as much fun as we've had there, they still, for most obviously outside of what we do, but
Right.
for everyone else, it's very like transactional, and they kind of split
Mhm.
into their own little
Yep.
group, or they go back to the hotel rooms, right?
Mhm.
And not that doesn't happen there, obviously it does, but
Mhm.
like the bar and outside is full,
We
right?
close the bar
Like-
every day.
like
Wow.
full, and
Oh.
everyone you know, like
Uh-huh.
everyone you've seen online, they're
Yeah.
all there, and they're all nice.
Cool.
And like Jeff was like, dude, I was just talking to, I don't even remember who he was talking to. He's like, I've followed his work for years, and within 3 minutes, we're having like a deep philosophical conversation about scale modeling. He's like, that's never happened to me before. I'm like, I know. That's why this is so good. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
like. This is amazing.
Mhm.
It is for me. It's like hard to put into words, and it almost
Yeah.
makes me like borderline emotional, which makes me sound like a doofus. But
No.
No.
it's just
No.
like,
That's
yeah,
why we're always going back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a show. How I describe it, it's like it's the show with no ego.
Wow.
yeah, and it's not,
Wow.
and that's kind of what I told Jeff too. I'm like,
Mhm.
there's no pretension here.
Yeah.
Like you're literally talking to, and especially on the figure side, like the best in the world.
Yep.
There is
Right.
to the point. Well, and maybe we'll talk about it in when we do our thing on Sunday. The work there is so good. Like on the figure side
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah.
They had to add a new. Next year they're adding a new category,
Wow.
because the gulf between standard and master, once people were getting golds in standard and could not compete in master,
Wow.
so they're adding an advanced class in between,
Mm.
so the guys that can move out of standard can be
Mhm.
competitive somewhere else.
I
to,
think
to the
Wow.
point where like some of the best painters in the world are getting silver in
Yeah.
master
Wow.
fantasy, right? Like there was I think 4 golds in
Wow.
the Masters fantasy painting, which is the largest category there, like
Yeah.
the largest
Hundreds.
by a large number.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chris
That's
Meddings had podcasts. He had those 3 guys on. One of them was Ivan Cocker, and he was talking about that very thing. He was saying that there's kind of a hole in the
Yeah.
middle there that they need to
Yeah.
address, and that was before this SMC.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if they need to do that with the scale modeling. I mean, the armor judges are tough in
Yeah.
Masters.
Yeah.
They were tough, and but I feel like this year maybe they were more fair than they were last year, because they were tough last year too with the whole Rinaldi debacle.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're tough. I mean, JB knows. I know too. I talked to Lester about it, and he told me straight up. He's like, yeah, we were hard.
Yeah.
And going back, I mean, what TJ said about meeting people, the guy who
Right.
won Best Fantasy, Magnus Vagerberg, like never
Uh-huh.
met him in my life, ran into him on the first day, and he said hi to me throughout the whole weekend. And
Yeah, I was
Right.
me and he's buddies with Marcus Erickson. We're hanging
yeah,
out outside drinking beer.
Wow.
yeah, like the guy. And
Yeah.
what was crazy is Jim Rice was talking about him just 3 weeks before at RockCon, like, oh, Magnus is a guy I look up to. I think he's the best painter in the world, this and that. And it's like 3 weeks later, I'm having beers with him and talking.
God.
And
Yeah.
says hi to me at the show and remembers my face. And it's just like,
Jim's display of work at MMSI he has that Nurgle figure that I have that I want to paint someday. And then he has that new knight that he posted, I think around RockCon, the one it's like a knight bust and there's a lot of metal in there and just, oh my God.
That's great though. I mean, it's just the experience that you guys had. It's just fantastic. Just fantastic.
Something I was talking to John Bryan about, and it was definitely noticeable this year because it was announced, the explosion of aircraft.
Oh,
There was, yeah. They had to bring in extra aircraft judges.